believe we started this 10 weeks ago, man? We are in chapter 10. And if you checked out last week's episode, you know I was really excited for this one. I've been really excited for chapter 10 because in chapter 10, I think we really tapped into a few things. And so one of the things that it tapped in for me was the three areas that Napoleon talks about, not Napoleon, but the enemy talks about, that he uses men to drift. And that's unsolicited opinions, sex, and food. And for me, it really hit home with my journey with obesity and overcoming my emotional eating and some of the traumas that I went through in my life. You know what I mean? Because I look towards food as a comfort. You know, my family's from the South. Shout out to Valdosta, Georgia. You know what I mean? So my mother learned, she's a master chef, 6-level chef in comfort food, Southern cuisine. And so for me, when I would go through something, I would turn to comfort food to comfort me, not realizing that the comfort food that was comforting me was also hurting me, as far as my health was concerned and as far as my ideology was concerned. You know what I mean? And I think that it holds true for these other areas as well, where men, they demand strength and health, but excessive use of these three areas will be your downfall. One of those areas is unsolicited opinions, you know what I mean, or unwarranted opinions. And I think we see that right now with social media, where everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something that they just got to say. They just got to get out there. They don't care if they offend you. They don't care if you get laughed at. They don't care if they troll you. They don't care if they're bullying you. It doesn't matter. They just got to get something out there, and they're just going to put it out there, and then they'll stand and stamp and double down on said opinion. We see it all the time, especially around politics. So with this being an election year, every year is an election year, essentially, we're going to see it ramp up between September and October, going into November, where everyone's going to have something to say about something. We saw it during the pandemic. And another place that we see it in food. Everybody's a food critic. If somebody gets on there right now and they say, oh, I'm making Jamaican oxtails, you're going to have 500 people that get on there and say, that's not oxtails, or that's this, or that's that, or this is burnt, or this is not how you do it, or you shouldn't do it that way. And the fact of the matter is, everybody has the option and the opinion to do it the way that their family likes, or the way that they learn to do it. Just because they don't do it your way doesn't mean that it's not right. And so with that...
Wait, Tim, you don't want to talk about cleaning chicken? That's huge.
Hey, man, hey, you clean chicken, like, hey, I've seen people clean the chicken with vinegar and lemon. I've seen people clean the chicken with just a knife. I seen a lady pour this detergent on the chicken and say, hey, they told me to clean it and clean it thoroughly, so I put Dawn on it. And you know what I mean? And it's just like one of those things where it's like, oh, you can't eat at everybody's house. Well, you probably can't cook. You know what I mean? Like, everybody do things differently. What they say is more than one way to skin a cat. But we're so triggered in our mindset to do things a certain way. When somebody comes along and does it differently, we're like, man, that's stupid, that's dumb, that's whatever. And then that's where the conflict comes in. And so, without jumping too far ahead of myself, I wanted to see what you brothers had to think about some of those other areas, because, you know, even though, you know, sex is a big part of manhood, I didn't struggle with it as much as you guys did. I did go through some things where I was taught from my peers that sex is how your sexual prowess is how you determine your manhood. Oh man, you got that girl, you the man. You the man, man. Like how you pull that, how you get that, how you da. You know what I mean? But for me, my biggest challenge was overcoming my emotional eating and my comfort food. And I just wanted to know what you guys think about what some of the challenges you had.
Yeah, so I think first just filling in on that food. 90, you know, if you listen in on this and you know you experience headaches a lot, 95% of headaches come from the food that you eat, which leads to improper brain function. So when you sit back and think about that, anytime that you see a person who struggles with food, it's almost inevitable that their brain is not functioning to the capacity that it could be functioning at, right? And then that's when I had the epiphany. Pepto-Bismol and Tums, like they knew what they were doing. They were created for this lack of discipline. Pepto-Bismol, upset stomach, indigestion, constipation, right? They know.
Diarrhea.
Don't change how you eat. What you eat.
Just put this on top of it.
Change what you do after you eat.
They were created. I said, wow, Pepto was ahead of their time, man. They already knew that people would struggle with this discipline. And they knew how to counter it. They knew how to they had a business model that would keep them in business, man. Wow. That's it. Shout out to Pepto, you know, shout out to Tom, man. Listen, that was touche. All right. That was good. I like it. But then, you know, I'm a homework guy. I'm a solution guy. Harahachi bu. Harahachi bu. Harahachi bu is a Japanese word, and the word means eat until 80% full. Eat until 80% full. Now, why does that matter? Because, you know, this Harahachi bu comes from a specific type of Japanese culture that actually has the most centennials, meaning people who live to be 100 years old. So clearly these people understood something about the digestive system and its correlation with your quality and quantity of life. Well, now today in America, it won't be uncommon to have, well, any developed nation, it won't be uncommon for an individual to live to be 100 years old. But that's going to require certain discipline. So just by simply eating to your 80% full, because why? Well, in the book that we're reading, right, Outwitting the Devil, what he says is that, you know, people lack the ability to be disciplined. So when you burp, if you burp or you belch, if you to the point where you're belching, you burp, you are full. That's your body's sign telling you, hey, it's time to stop eating. Most people are eating to indulge, not eating to fuel.
I got more room now.
Yeah.
Let me wear my good pants.
Yeah. You showed up for this. Like, this isn't the thing that's going to. You showed up like this was the task of the day. Eating is not the task of the day. Eating is what helps you accomplish the task of the day. We listened to Dr. Miles Monroe, and he actually has a whole teaching on fasting, and he talks about how many hours a person wastes thinking about or preparing for a meal. He says the average person spends about 8 hours from the inception of what it is they're going to eat to the preparation they're in, and then actually eating the food. You spend about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours. Who are you? Like, what privilege do you have to spend that much time on food? It's crazy when you sit back and think about the amount of energy, brain energy, that a person puts towards it. And is food a necessity? Of course. Of course. Is sex a necessity? Yes. Yes. Are opinions a necessity? Formed opinions? Yes. Yes.
That's exactly why the enemy uses them to manipulate us. All right? You need food. Why not eat all the best foods? Eat everything.
All you can eat.
Get stuffed. Right? We, Mark and I, we went on a fast. I think it's been 2 years now. We went on a fast. Might have been 3 years. We went on a fast. And one thing we noticed that in the middle of our fast, like, man, I'm more alert. Like, wait, how am I more alert? I haven't eaten, but I'm more alert. So we've seen that food dulls when, listen, we seen the animal kingdom. You know, the best, I lived in Jacksonville, Florida for 7 years. They eat alligators. They kill alligators, right, and eat them. It's the best time to get alligators after he's full. Yeah. Like, why? It's like, he not gonna put up a fight. You just hit him in the head. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you hit him in the head. This is crazy. It's like, yeah, you catch an alligator after he's full, right? And we're seeing that, like, when you catch a man after he's full, he no longer has the desire to hunt.
Mhm.
You can't. You're not as alert. You're not as sharp, right? And the enemy uses this. He uses this food to get you to a point of you're full. So now you're full. Your power is being used on the digestion. You're no longer using your brain power to think, solve problems, be creative. And this is something we've seen, and we can move on to sex, because sex is also something that has been used against us because most people use it incorrectly. Majority of people use sex incorrectly, right? And I was guilty of it. There's a lot of things that come from the accurate use of sex, right? So in this book, we talk about the importance of confidence in a man and faith, right? So for me, man, I dedicated my whole life I dedicate a large part of my life to being able to attract women and be seen as attractive, right? So I had to overcome rejection. I had to develop confidence. I had to get faith, but I was using this all for the wrong things, right? A 18-year-old boy has the sex drive to run through a brick wall. Well, that's the time where he should be building something with his sexual energy, right? And
Building the brick wall.
And this book, and Think and Grow Rich, talks about the power of transmutation of sex.
That's a shirt. Tim, would that get me canceled? That won't do it.
Oh no! Please don't cancel. That's the title of this.
Please.
Don't cancel shit. Your genius is in your erection. Well, yes.
Oh,
Right.
goodness.
And you see, like, these, I guess they're the red pool dudes. These dudes talk about no fap, and this is weird, but the principle behind it,
Yeah.
the principle behind not wasting your seed, the principle behind not wasting your spiritual, your supernatural energy just being wasted, not wasting the transmutation of sex, right? Some of the most successful men they say the peak age for a man is his 40s, when he's able to accomplish the most things. Well, why? Well, his sexual desire has weaned off, and now he's able to focus. He's able to follow one course of action to success, right? Prior to that age, he can't. So me, myself, I was distracted, and there are tons of things that I should have did and even could have did in my life if I hadn't been driven by sex, if I hadn't been driven by these sexual desires. Now, there are some good things that came from it, right? I talked about my confidence. Well, I joined the Navy because of my sexual desires. My recruiter was attractive. That's it.
Yeah.
I walked in the office. She's like, "You're not gonna come talk to me?" Yes, I'm gonna come talk to you. Right? She got me. She cooled me, right? We talked about that. She cooled me. 2 weeks later, I'm in boot camp. Like, man, my life wasn't that bad to be here.
Ever since I met you, my life been in shambles.
Now I'm in boot camp, surrounded by a bunch of men. This is not what I. Right, this is not it. This is not what. However, like in that, right? We talked about it. Me joining the Navy was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Right? When I talk to young men, one of the things I tell them is, "Hey, man, you have to protect your seed. You have to protect yourself from being engaged and entangled or engulfed by a destructive woman." Right? Every woman is not a woman for you. Right? There are manipulative women. There are sabotaging women out here. And there are women that the enemy is particularly using to get you sidetracked or drift. Right? A man who's only thinking about sex is drifting because he's no longer thinking about his purpose. And that's where I was. I was no longer thinking about my purpose or becoming a better man or becoming a king. I was only thinking about my sexual desires.
Yeah.
And in order for me to get to the place to be married, I had to prove that I had this under control. But I was celibate before I met my wife because I had to prove that I could control my sexual desire. I could prove that, when the Matrix, you see the girl, the woman in red, right? I had to prove that the woman in red couldn't sidetrack me from my mission and purpose. Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was cutting you off, and I apologize. I was cutting you off, man. I was just gonna, talk about what you were saying, where So there, everybody's big on Chicago drill rap, the mecca of drill rap and stuff. And so there was this one rapper back in Chicago, and he was leaving. He was actually going to Iowa. He was going to leave the gang life, leave all of that stuff, and put all that stuff behind him. And he was supposed to leave on, let's say it was a Monday or what have you. He pushed the trip back to go see a female. You know what I mean? And then when they found him, he had the bus ticket in his pocket, and he was shot dead in the back of the head. She backdoored him. You know what I mean? She set him up. His ops came and worked with her to get her to lure him to postpone his trip, and he never made it out of Chicago. You know what I mean? Like I said, he was found deceased with the ticket to Iowa in his back pocket, and the only reason he stayed was to go see that female.
Like, the stories are there. I can give you numerous stories of men who were great men. However, their inability to control their sexual desire caused them to ruin their lives. Right? Their inability to control their sexual desire caused destruction to come to their families. We just go to David.
Yeah.
Right? Because of what David did to Uriah, it said, "Hey, David, the sword will be against your family." David was fleeing from his son who was trying to kill him. David's son was trying to kill him because David didn't do anything when his brother raped his sister. Right? These are the type of destructions that we've seen. We've seen this in the Bible, right? A man not being able. It said, in a time where men are usually supposed to be at war, the king was sitting on the rooftop staring at Bathsheba. Right? The time when he was supposed to be at war. Right? So we've seen men throughout history have their lives destructed because they cannot and they fail to control their sexual desires. And this is something that the enemy uses to sidetrack you from your purpose and your definite purpose. Right? He's using your inability to control your sexual desire to sidetrack you and keep you from doing anything that you're supposed to do for God. And it works time after time, right? Before this call, we talked about Bill Cosby, right? Well, Bill Cosby was a legend, but then he has this huge asterisk on his life.
Yeah, it's amazing because in the book Outwitting the Devil, like, somebody's listening in on this right now, and they're like, these are all the good things in life. No, like, legit. He like, no, this is my flow, right? I take her out to eat, then we go home, we getting it in, and then we having pillow talk. This is the flow.
Yeah. We talking about that's bad. How is that bad? That's
my Friday night, man. What you
Like,
talking about?
That's the flow.
Listen, I live in America because it's the culture with the most abundance of food, the most hypersexual, and we got free speech. This is America.
Then I get to
I
talk about it.
I get it. This is why it is easy to lure you into drifting.
Yeah.
This is why it's easy. See, God doesn't use these. God says, actually, I want you to fast. I don't want you. He said, no, I want you to abstain from sex unless you choose to get married. Right? And then he says, no, I actually ask that you just be quiet, because then you'll at least be presumed to be wise.
Tongue is a two-edged sword, man.
Yeah. I'd rather you just be quiet and not say, just listen, right? I mean, it's so I understand where you're coming, and this is why what makes pursuing a godly life so hard. That's what makes it so hard, and what makes being a drifter so easy. But there's a question.
And pleasurable.
I love what CJ said prior to the meeting. No, you had a conversation with God.
Yeah.
You and God sat down, broke bread, had a conversation, and made an agreement before you came to this earth.
He said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. You was my partner. I knew you. I knew you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You told me, you said, hey, God, let me come to earth, man. I was like, you sure you want to go down there with the heathens? I said, look, God, I'm going down there. I'm going to change. I'm going to make impact, God. I'm going to build men when I go to earth.
I'm going to build men.
Yeah, I'm going to go down earth. That's what I told him. He said, you sure? I was like, hey, God, I'm going to build men. And you know what I'm going to do, God? I'm going to bring more men to heaven.
Yes.
When I get down there, I'm gonna bring some more men with me when I come back.
Yeah.
You get down here and God looking at you like, hey, you not coming back. hey, boy, you keep doing that, you ain't coming back.
That's funny.
No, and I'm with you, right? Like even the angels that fell was like, dang, these women bad.
I ain't never been with a baddie.
I understand.
Hey, what did they Tim?
I ain't never been with a baddie. Body, yaddy, 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 yaddy.
Make you touch yourself.
He said, "Yo, hey, guy, you did this." Oh man, guy,
Miss Parker.
guy was cooking.
Hey, give me 3.5 minutes, maybe even 4.
Hey, the angels came down sweet talking like, hey, I done been all around the heavens. I ain't seen nothing like you.
Mad game.
And you know it's gold everywhere up there, girl. You a massive metal.
Never heard that before.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. I understand. Okay, trust me. But you have to learn how to understand that those are not. That's not why we're here. It's not for food. It's not for sex. It's not for. And these are just the top 3. If you learn how to, these aren't all the discipline. This doesn't make up self-discipline. Somebody's listening there like, shoot, none of those really got to me. That does no.
Listen,
These top 3.
listen. If you watch this and that's what you jump to, all of those got you right because that don't bother me. So you don't right. If you the person who be watching YouTube videos and be commenting under some stuff that has nothing to do with the video. I watched the video yesterday. This dude, it was Earl Spence was boxing, preparing for the fight. And this dude laying in his bed talk about, look at him all flat-footed. How he gonna win the fight? Bro, you laying in your bed commenting on a professional boxer being flat-footed? You a drifter. I know you're not doing nothing else.
Yeah, man. Just to bring it back home. So you know, one of the prayers I had before I met my wife was, God, make me a husband. You know what I mean? Before you give me a wife, make me a husband first. You know what I mean? So I went through these periods of celibacy, and I went through this period of being like surrounded by husbands and stuff like that. And the craziest thing happened, right? I didn't even announce that I was getting married. I just announced that I was relocating. I announced that I was leaving Syracuse and moving to Oklahoma. And then I got females coming from all sorts of my past. You know, I always had a crush on you. I always liked you. I always da. And I'm like, bruh, like, what is this? You get what I'm saying? And I didn't understand it until later in life. You know what I mean? But that was the enemy setting up. I mean, to the point where, and I hope she's watching, but I hope you don't feel any type of way about me telling this story.
Don't say no names, man.
Don't
say no names.
She was. Don't cancel us. Please don't cancel us. We're gonna have to change the name of the podcast to "Don't Cancel Us." You know what I mean? But she was at my crib. She was at the house. You know what I mean? She was ready. She was willing. And I was like, I can't do this. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to need you to, you know, put your clothes back on. You get what I'm saying? And like in that moment, I know she was like, what? You know what I mean? But in that moment, like, I stood firm on that because I knew that where I was headed, I didn't need to bring that baggage and that luggage, even if it was just spiritual, with me. You get what I'm saying? I didn't need to bring those memories with me. I didn't need to bring that energy with me. You get what I mean? And this was 2 days before I was relocating. You get what I'm saying? So it could have happened and nobody would have known anything. You know, I had my own spot. I had my own bachelor pad. My wife, my soon-to-be wife, was out here in Oklahoma. Like, there was nothing stopping me but me. You know what I mean? And in that moment, I can still sit here and tell this story knowing with a clear conscience that I was able to pivot away from that, even though, I'm gonna be honest with you, there were points and times throughout the night where I probably didn't want to. You get what I'm saying? I probably wanted to participate. I probably wanted to engage. But you know what I mean? I had to stand firm on that because I knew where God was taking me. That wasn't of a husband. That wasn't of the father that I wanted to be. That wasn't of the king that I wanted to be. That wasn't of the leadership that I wanted to be. You know what I mean? So I can definitely attest to that, man.
Yeah, you let her take all her clothes off first, though.
No,
I didn't let her. I didn't let her. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but you know,
I ain't no problem.
I'm gonna let you put your clothes back on. Back on.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? You know, shout out to you, sis. You know, I appreciate you. You're doing big things up there. Keep doing what you do.
Yeah.
CJ, hurry up. Stop. Talk. CJ, talk. Talk.
Right
CJ,
here.
say something. Say
Right
something.
here.
Don't cancel us. Say something.
I have two choices.
Yeah.
I have two choices. It's simple, right? When I chose to give my life to God, I have two choices at that point. I can serve and be an amazing servant in the kingdom and advancing it, using my talents and my gifts to impact people, right? Or I can marry, right? We had that conversation a while back. Go listen to that one on how many women you can marry, right? Marry and just enjoy better sex. The sex got to get better. Well, how does the sex get better? By me going back to number one. So all I did was just add more onto it.
Hey man, Paul talked about that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Paul
Like if you like, no man, I can't not have sex, then all right, that means that God gave you that desire for you to procreate. That's why you have that desire. If you like, I just can't not do it, then that's a sign that you should begin looking for a spouse, because he gave you that desire for you to procreate. He gave you that desire to expand on life. And the reason that most men have sex, if you be honest with yourself, is because women hold the power. You heard it here first. Women have the juice. All right? Anybody who's honest knows that. Okay?
It's a two-sided coin, though, right? So they have the juice for sex. We have the juice for marriage.
Yeah.
Women can sleep with any man they want to, but they can only marry the man that wants to marry them. Yeah, tons of men who will. Yeah, listen. If a man buy a big enough ring, he can marry a stranger.
Or if he go on the right TV show.
Man, stranger. Any woman he wants, except for another married man's
wife.
Yeah, any woman you want.
Yeah. I had a sister ask me. She said, "Why do guys keep telling me I'm marriage material, but ain't nobody trying to marry me?" I said, "That's an internal question." Are you sleeping with these guys? Well, yeah. Some of them, and I'm like, that's why.
Listen, I am under the belief. I have this theory, right? I have this theory. I'm working on it. I haven't seen enough cases to make it true, but I believe that wives get married. Listen. And what I mean by that is the women that I know have shown characteristics of a wife get married. Yeah. Some of them get married multiple times, right? They might have married the wrong person the first time, and then they get married. There's something about them that makes them significantly different. Yeah. So I would challenge you, if you're watching this and you are unmarried, how many wives do you have a relationship with? And are you doing the things that wives do? Because I believe wives get married, and it's not a matter of looks. It's the characteristic of a wife. Proverbs 31 women
31
get married. A man might not even be a husband. When he meet this woman, he's like, I'm gonna get my life together. I'm gonna get my life together, but I'm gonna be a husband to you. You are a wife.
Yeah. What that wise rapper say? He said, "Girl, you make a thug want to get a legal gig."
Yeah.
I don't change my whole life. Like, can't let this go. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Mark, what you think about opinions, my brother?
Think before you speak. think before you speak. Sometimes it's okay to say, I honestly don't know. What's your opinion? Or I honestly don't know. What do you think about that? That statement not only introduces humility, shows humility, but it also shows your willingness to grow and learn. If I be honest, you know, if there was something I could say to myself at 17, 18, 22, 23 years old, it's you have 2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yeah.
Listen, man. I mean, and that applies to men my age. That applies to men our age right now. Like, the average guy is stubborn, you know, in his desire to hear what other people have to say. But I can always tell who's the strongest in the room when opposition comes in. When I say strongest, I mean has the strongest mind, has done the most time thinking, is when opposition meets, right? How do you handle people who think different from you? You have an intolerance for people that think different from you? There's a strong chance you suffer from thoughtless opinions. If you have made generalizations and you speak often from generalizations, like most people, if that's something that just fly off your tongue.
Or you people.
Yeah. If you use words like probably, could, should, would, that introduce ambiguity, there's a strong chance you suffer from thoughtless opinion. You haven't taken the time to study and show yourself approved. And because you have this tool and you forgot, because we have this tool and we forget that we are kings, we forget that what we speak becomes a decree, becomes a proclamation. We say things that we cannot back up and that we do not mean. And the reality is, what you say, what you speak, will come to pass. Will come to pass. I love what they said in the book. Have here, a man often hides the need to attract the attention of others or impress people favorably. So individuals who talk a lot, they're doing it because they're actually trying to impress you. But it oftentimes has the opposite effect. Why? Because a man that talks too much inevitably says something foolish.
He exposes what little he knows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be a man of few words. Be a man of few words. You'll just be taken more seriously. And you should want to be taken seriously. There's a decision between being taken seriously and being taken as a joke. You should absolutely be wanting to be taken seriously. Okay? You should want to walk in that light. I'm not saying don't have a pleasing personality. You know, that's not what I'm saying, but you should definitely want to be taken seriously.
I'm serious business. Take me seriously even when I'm joking. Was that a joke? Was that a joke? Oh, nah.
Yeah, if it's an individual that jumps from one topic to another without closing or completing anything, that's a sign of thoughtless opinion.
Like, when you know somebody that got something to say about everything, this person is drifting.
Yeah, they're drifting.
Like, there's nothing that you don't have opinion on. You just have an opinion on everything. Just everything you have an opinion. right? Be selective with your opinions, right? I have opinions on things that I've studied, right? More so than the things that I've experienced, is because I know my experiences are not law. They're just my experiences, right? I've experienced some things, but I have to take my experiences to the word.
Yeah. It's limited.
That's good.
This is what I experienced. What does the word say about this experience? The word say forgive. All right, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that even we live in such a society that there's a whole market for fact checking. Like, there's a whole market for it, just to, you know what I mean?
It depends on
President Trump.
Who they fact checking, right?
Yeah.
If you in the inner circle, they got you. But if you not, you on the outside.
They fact checking that. You know what I mean? To the point where President Trump coined a moniker called fake news.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's fake news, man. That's fake news. That's fake news, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's news. It's news to you, but it's fake to us. You know what I mean? These are all unsolicited opinions, and the one theme that I see amongst all three of these aspects are the mouth. The mouth. You know what I mean? We have to control our mouth. Drifters are not in control of their mouth. Either what goes in it or what comes out of it. You know.
And this should be empowering to the person who's listening in on this, and you are actually a producer, not a consumer. You know, you're actually in a stage of life where you're creating, and now that creates a different set of barriers that you have to overcome. You know, the opinions of people, the opinions of others, more so than you controlling your discipline about speaking, is really, how do I combat the other people speaking against me, right? This is the other side of social media, right? There's one side of social media that's full of consumption, which Tim spoke about, but then there's another side of it, right? The individuals that are actually producing the content, looking to make a change, looking to make impact, right? And what they have to deal with. And so this component is for those individuals. When you see people who are trolling you, those are drifters.
Yeah.
I like what King Collins said, man. He was like, beware of selflessness. Carelessness, forgive me. Beware of carelessness when you're expressing these opinions. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that are really careless and reckless with some of the stuff that they put on social media. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, that's not behooving of what you claim to be or what you claim to promote. You know what I mean? And I had to be one of those people. I took a year off of social media. You know what I mean? And in that process of taking a year off, I reworked myself. I worked on my inner being. And to be honest with you, the first 2 to 3 weeks, it was hard. But after a while, like, that thing got easy, man, to the point to where I attribute to a lot of where I am now and how I treat my relationship with social media based upon me being able to take that year off.
Yeah, so I really want to just encourage you guys to continue this journey with us. Go back and watch the old videos. This is Outwitting the Devil, Chapter 10, Self-Discipline. We are the Men of Mentality. Today we talked about the top 3 vices that the enemy uses to destroy your self-discipline. I want you to remember that habits, what did I write down about habits, Mark? What did I say about habits? Habits are contagious.
Yeah.
Right? In the earlier chapter, he talked about using the habit of smoking. Right? If I can get you to smoke, then I can get you to drink. I can get you to drink, I can get you to stop thinking. Right? So today we talked about the habit of not being able to control food to the point of overindulgence, the habit of not being able to control sex and sexual desires, and not being able to transmute your sexual desires to accomplish the things that you want, or allowing sex to cause you to drift. And we talked about the willingness to express your opinions freely, whether they're asked for or not, and whether you have put thought into them or not. Because if you're too willing to express your opinions that you have not thought about, then you are open to being a drifter. You're open to allowing the opinions of others to just flow in your head and out of your mouth. Right? These are all dangerous, and these are all tools and devices that the enemy uses to keep you from accomplishing your goals and set out on your definite purpose. right? You came here to do something, and we are the Men of Mentality, and we want to help you do what you said you was going to do when you came here. That is our chief aim and goal, is to help men become better. We are builders of men. We want to help men build and accomplish the goals they set to desire. That is why we're here. We thank you for tuning in. Check us out next week, where we're going to talk about learning from adversity. I'm Kingmaker Collins. This is King Timothy Hunter, and this is King Mark Neeson. Thank you for your time. Please like, share, comment. If you've thought about an opinion to share, just don't give us no unthought about opinions, because then you're drifting. You know what I'm saying? But
think about it first. Think about it.
Hey, we'll take constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Thank you all for watching. Peace.
Roll it.
Cut.